I don't tell this story often, mostly because when I do, people assume I was tired or imagining things, but I wasn't. This happened 3 winters ago in Montana. I was driving back from a late work shift. It was just after 1:45 a.m. The highway was almost empty, just long stretches of darkness and pine trees. No snow that night, just cold air and fog rolling low over the asphalt. About 30 minutes into the drive, my phone buzzed. My GPS said, "Faster route available, 12 minutes saved." I remember thinking that was strange. At 2 a.m. in the middle of nowhere, what traffic could there possibly be? Still, I tapped accept. The map rerouted me off the highway onto a narrow county road I'd never taken before. At first it seemed normal. 2-lane pavement, reflective road signs, occasional mailboxes. Then the houses stopped. The streetlights disappeared, and my signal dropped to 0 bars. I told myself it was fine. Rural dead zones are common out there. But then I noticed something strange. The blue GPS arrow, the one that shows your car, was slightly off the road, like I was driving next to it, not on it. I slowed down. The map corrected itself. Then it glitched again. I laughed nervously and said out loud, "Great, perfect timing." That's when my radio turned on. Not loudly, just a low hiss of static. I hadn't used the radio in weeks. I reached over and turned it off. 2 seconds later, it came back on. The static wasn't random. It sounded patterned, like breathing through interference. And then, very clearly, I heard my name. Not shouted, not distorted, just softly spoken, like someone sitting in the back seat. I slammed the radio off again. This time it stayed silent. My heart was racing, but I kept driving. Then the fog thickened. Headlights barely reached past the hood of my car. And that's when I saw it. A shape, standing in the road ahead. At first I thought it was a deer, but it was too tall, too still. It looked like a person standing perfectly upright. No jacket, no movement, just watching. I slowed down without realizing it. The closer I got, the less I could make out. It wasn't stepping forward. It wasn't walking. It was just there. And then something hit me. There were no tire tracks in front of it. The road was dusty from winter gravel. My headlights clearly showed my own tracks behind me, but in front of that figure, nothing. Like it had always been standing there. I blinked, and it was closer. Not walking closer, just closer. My stomach dropped. I don't know why, but I checked my rearview mirror. There was nothing behind me. When I looked back at the road, the figure was gone. The road ahead was empty. No one. No footprints. No movement in the trees. I didn't stop. I pressed the gas and drove past the spot where it had been. As I passed, my headlights flickered, just once, and for a split second, I saw something in my passenger seat. A reflection. Not fully formed, just a darker shape than the shadows around it. I didn't look directly at it. I couldn't. I just kept driving. About 5 minutes later, the fog suddenly cleared, and I was back on the highway. No turn, no merging ramp, just highway, like I'd never left. My signal returned. My GPS recalculated and calmly said, "Continue for 18 miles." I pulled over at the next gas station. The clock read 3:12 a.m. That didn't make sense. The detour should have taken 10 minutes at most. I checked my trip distance. I had driven nearly 90 extra miles. That's impossible in that amount of time. The next morning, I opened my map history. There was no detour, no county road, no alternate route. It showed a straight, uninterrupted drive on the highway. I even drove back the next day in daylight to look for the turn. There was no road there, no county sign, no pavement break, nothing, just trees and a guardrail. But here's the part that still bothers me. When I got home that night, before I went inside, I checked my back seat. It was empty. But the passenger seat? It was slightly reclined. I never recline that seat, and on the fabric, there was a faint handprint in the dust. Not on the window, on the seat itself, like someone had been sitting there and pushed themselves up. I sold that car 2 weeks later. I never use GPS reroutes anymore. And sometimes, when I'm driving alone at night, my radio still turns on, just for a second, and I swear I can hear breathing under the static.
Subscribe now if you dare to hear the next horror story.